Hey there. So lately, I've been looking at titles a little more carefully because I notice some of the individuals represented on said title and how they act in certain places. The people that I'm talking about here, I'm talking about Tamara Bonvillain, and I'm talking about Magdalene Visaggio. Now, what's interesting when I bring this up is that right off the bat, any type of bad behavior that these individuals have, they will always go back to deflection by saying that they're part of a marginalized community. Me bringing them up, I'm going to be called a transphobe and on, not because of the way that they interact or the way that they act, but because of representation. It's an interesting topic too when you get down to this idea of representation, because we talk about representation of this classification versus representation of the companies you work for and the dynamic that should exist between consumer and company. It's very interesting when you see this played out, and very insulting when you get down to it as well, because somewhere within this conversation, companies have allowed specific individuals to not only go out and insult people, but to insult them with some of the most demeaning titles available. You're not only a customer they don't like. You're not only a customer they don't want anything to do with, but now a top company letterhead. They can call you a racist, a sexist, a transphobe, and on. Ain't that the kicker? When I'm looking at this too, when I'm looking at these two individuals, I'm basing that first and foremost on the fact that these people are Blogbot users. Both of them are. Now, the first one here, Bonvillain, has not always been a Blogbot user. What brought this about was actually a disagreement between Peter Simeti and Bonvillain, where Bonvillain decided to actually attack a representative of a different company. I did a video on this, but breaking this down very, very quickly. What happened was somebody had decided to post where they had bought an Alterna comic book and that DNC, or Diversity in Comics, had recommended it to them. Now, since Peter Simeti is essentially Alterna Comics, he always reposts people buying his comic books. I mean, that's standard fare for him. Smaller comic book press, you drum up good business by saying, hey, we appreciate you as a customer. Well, Bonvillain there did not appreciate that in the least and decided to rake him over the proverbial coals, and not only do that, but attack his not only business practices, but business. Within that, all of these people got together, they wanted to rage about the business, and they tried to hurt it. After that, the blowback there, we got the Blogbot. So that's how that came about. The Blogbot was based on not only blocking Diversity in Comics followers, but blocking this other company. Literally, that's what type of person you're talking to. Someone that is willing to limit the customer base for their own company through disparaging and through blocking other people out because, hey, that's what you do. Now, Visaggio decided to drop the Blogbot as well on 20+ thousand individuals because, hey, that's how good customer relationships are built. Now, all of this blogbotting is done because you are essentially considered the bad guy if you push the follow button on the wrong people. Never spoke a word to these individuals, but it doesn't matter. You, by proxy, are a terrible human being. Now, I think that the companies that these people represent, when looking at that, they need to look at the representation that is there, not the representation of caste or community, but the representation of calling people evil by proxy, terrible by proxy, sexist and transphobic by proxy. You need to look at what is in that relation and what it does to sales. Now, going further with that, these individuals, if you look back at what Visaggio has brought to the table, Visaggio is not only a Blogbot user, but is somebody that has continually railed about white, male, cis individuals. That is something that both of these people do quite often. Visaggio is best known for this one quote here, and this quote is a doozy. Can you imagine if I changed this up? Let me read this to you here. I am done with this, so fuck you. Fuck cis assholes. fuck your bullshit. Get ready for a baseball bat to the teeth. Going further with that, revolution. Y'all are on notice. And not only that, but we have somebody commenting, say, sister, may I suggest some shopping therapy? And here's a bunch of different type of baseball bats. Now, could you imagine that dynamic being carried out if I would have said, say, fuck trans people? If someone were to take that, how would DC Comics react? They would have been out the door. But fuck cis people, that's normal. You're saying fuck straight people, the majority of DC's customer base out there, you're saying fuck those people? Hey, no problem. Let's keep giving you work because that is not an issue. Because apparently representing the company, that is not what we're going for. We always have that fallback on marginalized cast. And that's what this person did there too. They were saying, oh, they were actually upset because of some Trump political guidelines. Therefore, this stuff is okay. Now, looking at Bond Villain here, here's Bond Villain talking about the fact that, hey, you know, I'm only here because I'm trans and a woman, apparently. So, you know, hey, I'm glad I'm taking jobs from cis white dudes. That conversation there. Now, that conversation is kind of ugly. I realize that it's supposed to be a joke, but still, when you're looking at it, what kind of conversation are you talking about there anyway? Why are you bringing that up in correlation with your work to begin with? Going further, look at what is being said within this. You're talking about the I went after gays by saying any gay fan of diversity in comics doesn't care that he shits on trans people, and boy did this person prove me wrong. Also, I highly doubt this person is actually gay. They made an account to tweet this nonsense at me. So you're talking about people that follow a creator. They're being told that they're not gay at all. You know, they can't have identity because they disagree with this person. Can you imagine representing a company with that type of voice? And that is what they do time and again. You can see the other people that kick around with, though, so it's not surprising. Michelle Perez, if you've missed the mess that's been coming up lately, Perez basically said that all vets are crypto-fascists and that diversity in comics should have died by roadside bomb or IED. So, you know, that's that. And also everything that you say within this conversation here, you know, you're not actually saying anything. You're all sock puppets, and everything's scripted or by phrasebook. Basically, everything you say as a customer, all of the problems that come up, they don't matter. You have no voice. You have no identity. So we've got no identity, no voice, no individualism. That's awesome. Then we have a couple of other people sounding off on that as well. Wow, this is the most obnoxious straight man faking gay routine I've ever seen. Again, you cannot be gay out there if you disagree with what these individuals are saying. It's so ugly, especially if you took the reversal of that and you applied it. If you took that and you said, hey, you know, all of you people are faking what you are. You know, you have a mental condition. They blow up. They go nuts about that. But you can take away the identity of other individuals. You definitely don't practice what you preach, and you do it under the roof of these companies time and again. Continuing on that, you see Tess Fowler pop up again, and they're talking about blockbotting and whatnot, and recording it, of course, because everybody out there, you're dealing with the boogeyman. It's a very interesting thing when you see brought up. And again, they aren't simply representing this cast that they so lovingly endear themselves to. This notion that they're trans, that now they're women, that they're marginalized, but they're representing comic books. Now, within that, am I someone who is going out and following all the rules of employment? Am I supposed to give these companies my money? I could never keep a job if I acted like these individuals, nor would anybody that acted like this keep a job where I worked. It wouldn't matter how you acted or interacted, these type of actions would have consequences. But in comic books, for some reason, they do not. Now, as a comic book consumer, how am I supposed to feel about this? Shouldn't I feel slighted because I am now being judged as the bad guy because I click the follow button on social media? Shouldn't I feel like I'm being disparaged when I see my race or my gender or my identity thrown out there as the bad guy? Shouldn't I be offended when I'm told that this creator would like to bash people like me in the face with a baseball bat? Shouldn't a company do something about that? Why do they have different standards and different rules applied to these people that I myself could not have? Should I continue buying? At one time, I looked at this as a question of individuals. Hey, on this comic, for example, there are two people there I don't feel can be professional. I feel that they hate me for being alive. They definitely hate my race. They hate my gender. They hate the way that I identify. I don't want to support them. But now I'm starting to look at the companies behind them, the companies that refuse to do anything. Look at DC's policies they put out for freelancers lately, for example. They're doing nothing about what comes out of social media. They don't care. They want things to run smoothly, and for some reason within comic books, the standards that the rest of us follow within our daily lives, these creators, they do not have to follow them. Frankly, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of giving the money that I work really hard for to an industry that doesn't even see me as anything. That basically their creators see me as nothing more than a pixel on a screen. So anyway, I guess that's my rant today. These people are making me angry though, because there is this growing cast of probably 20 or more individuals that they're out there, they're doing whatever they want, and no one holds them accountable. It's like artists have been given impunity for bad relationships with customers, and it costs money. You know, these cracks that are showing up in that proverbial dam, they're going to end up cracking it all the way open. And when it does, you're going to have a groundswell of people that are just going to walk away. When they walk away, I damn sure hope that these industries have some kind of plan to recoup the losses there, because from what I'm seeing, we're seeing like tens of millions of dollars going out the door per company, and it's like no one cares. All right, let me know what you think about that. Thanks.